أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد. I welcome you all to the uh, live session on the fiqh of fasting. And today my intention was that since we are only 10 days away from Ramzan, so that we can have a discussion on the Sharia rulings regarding fasting. So when it comes to the Urdu language, there's so many different videos of authentic scholars already available on YouTube. There are a handful of pamphlets available, but when it comes to English, so there are less resources on that. That is my only intention to discuss the rulings of fasting today with all of my participants. So let's begin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. We'll first go with the definition of fasting, then its basis in Quran, then the Sharia status of fasting, then the conditions of obligation. What are the conditions that make it obligatory on you? Similarly, the intention. What about the Niyat? Can you only do in the night? Can you do it in morning? How long can you do it in the morning? What if you have eaten something in the morning before doing that niyat? Similarly, the factors that invalidate a fast. Does vomit invalidate a fast in every way? Does becoming a ghusl compulsory on you make invalidates a fast in every way? Similarly, we will talk about the Qaza and Kaffara, and we will talk about the factors that exempt one from fasting. And then if we are left with time, we can also discuss the different things that are often asked regarding the fasting. So let's begin. The definition of fasting is, according to the customary terminology of Sharia, fasting refers to a Muslim purposely, that is intentionally. Intentionally is important because just because you didn't have food with you and you remained hungry for a day and then you think that you will get reward for it, that's not the case. Because when you are fasting, you need to make a clear intention that you are going to stop yourself from the next part given in the definition. Fasting refers to a Muslim purposely, intentionally abstaining from eating, drinking, or sexual intimacy from subho sadiq until sunset with the intention of ibadat, that is worshipping Allah, in order to fast. A female must be free from haiz, that is menstruation, and nifas, that is postnatal bleeding. So the two factors we will discuss in the exemption part as well. But fasting is that with a clear intention that you are going to abstain yourself from eating, drinking, sexual intimacy right from subh sadiq, that is when the time for the fajr begins, until the sunset, when the time for the maghrib begins. During this whole time, you are going to abstain from all of this purposely, only with the intention of ibadat, that is worshipping Allah. This is the Sharia definition of fasting. Now, what is its basis in Quran? Okay, let's take a look at this as well. This, our ulama have discussed this as well, that there are different levels of fasting for different people. So for common folk masses, fasting is only to withhold the stomach and private parts from eating, drinking, and sexual intimacy. For people above that, in a spiritual way, not in a social status, the fasting for the spiritually elite, with the exception of the above, they protect their eyes, ears, tongues, hands, feet, and their entire body from sinful acts. And the third level is the fasting of the spiritually super elite. They abstain from everything which is not for the sake of Allah completely, and they direct their attention towards only Him. So the first level are the people who fast but who are lying, who fast but they are seeing what is not permitted for them to see. They fast but they are doing haram, but they're fasting because they are basically abiding by the conditions of fast, that is to abstain from eating, drinking, and sexual activity. But for a level above that, they also protect their ears, eyes, tongues, hands, and feet, everything from their sinful body. And the people who are like super elite in terms of spirituality, they do they do anything only for the sake of Allah, nothing beside that. So they are not involved in anything besides worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala By worship, that means everything in the trading, going to mosque, meeting people, but only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the basis of fasting in Quran in the Sharia sources? It is Surah Baqarah, ayat number 183. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, O believers, kutiba alaykumus siyamu. Fasting is prescribed for you. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as it was prescribed for the people before you, la'allakum tattakun, so that you may become pious. So this ayah clearly states that fasting is compulsory upon you. Of course, we will discuss the conditions, and those conditions are based on the knowledge that we get from ahadith and the actions of the Sahaba, the lifetime of the Sahaba, and what our Imam Azam Abu Hanifa and other Imams noted down and derived from the Sharia sources. But in a general point of view, for all the masses, fasting for a normal person who is free from those factors, a fasting is prescribed for him. It is compulsory. Here means it is first, which means it is obligatory. It is necessary, compulsory on him. And if he leaves out, if he does not obey, if he does not act out of without any valid Sharia reason or without any exempted reason as stated by Sharia, this is gunahi kabira, a major sin, and that person will deserve the torment of hellfire. So fasting is not to be taken lightly, just as the young generation does. It is really compulsory. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions the reason of fasting, that is, when you fast, you become pious. Taqwa is the objective that you try to reach through fasting, because when you abstain yourself from eating, drinking, sexual intimacy, you're going against your nafs, so you're getting stronger. You get stronger to kill your desires, to fight against your desires, and this is what is needed for a Muslim, so that when the time comes for jihad, when the time comes to remain hungry, when the time comes to strive, to remain in ibadat during whole night, to be in an extreme state of worship, your internal control that is going against your desires is required, and that is what you can achieve via fasting. So moving on, what are the different Sharia status of fasting? The one is first, fasting is first. This is the 30 fast of Ramzan, which is farz-e-ain on any Muslim. If and it is clearly mentioned in Quran. So if someone as a Muslim says that fasting is not first, like fasting is not necessary, he'll go out of Islam and he'll have to recite Kalma Tayyibah again, do Tawbah, because that would be basically negating Quran, rejecting Quran's hukum. So at times the fasting is farz, at time it is wajib, at times it is sunnat, at time it is nafil, it is makruh tahrimi. So 30 days of fast is farz. Similarly, the mannat that you make at times, that fast is wajib. Similarly, sometimes fast is sunnat, because that is sunnat nabawi, the action and the practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, for example, fasting on Mondays and Thursdays is a sunnat. Fasting in the 3 days of every Islamic month, that is the 13th, 14th, and 15th of an Islamic month, is a sunnat. Similarly, fasting on any other day besides these days is a nafil. And there are some days in Islam in which a fasting is makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi means disapproved to the point that it is forbidden. Haram is forbidden. Makruh tahrimi is so disliked, so disapproved by Sharia, that it is almost same as or quite close to being forbidden. So, for example, fasting on the day of Eid ul-Fitr, Eid ul-Azha, the 11th of Zilhajjah, 12th, 13th. These are the fasts which are makruh tahrimi, which one, if he keeps, he will be basically sinful for fasting on that day. Just give me a minute. Okay. Moving on. Now, what are the conditions of obligation? Like, on whom is the fast of Ramzan first, and on whom it is end? So, if the given 6 conditions, if these 6 conditions are present in someone, then the fast of Ramzan is an obligation on him and it is compulsory for him to fast. The first is being a Muslim, the second is being an adult. Adult means that you have become an adult, you have seen one of the signs in your body. If you haven't seen that, the minimum age that that fuqaha have set for a girl to become an adult is 9 years. The minimum age for a boy is 12 years. But if, for example, you do not see any change in your body of being adult, then 15 years is the age when, as per Sharia, you will be considered an adult and you will be responsible for all of the obligations that are directed towards the adult people. So the first is being a Muslim, the second is adult, the third is being a sensible, that we say akil. So for example, so a mentally disturbed person is not it is not obligatory on him to fast. The fourth is being healthy, that is, you're not ill, you're not sick. We will discuss what type of sickness is considered an exemption from fasting in a later slide, but just remember here that being healthy, being fit for fasting is a condition for obligation. The fifth is being a resident, not a traveler, as per Sharia. So you know, a Shari Musafir is someone who leaves from his home place and intends to go at least 92 kilometers far from his home place. And when he gets out of his home place, the the boundary, he becomes a Shari Musafir, a traveler as per Sharia. So if the Seher comes within that time when he's traveling, it is not obligatory on him. We will discuss this in a later slide as well. And then the sixth condition is for a woman that she is free from haiz, which is menstruation, and nifas, the postnatal bleeding. So if all of these conditions are present in some person, the fasting of Ramzan is obligatory on him. What about fasting for a child? So for example, in Pakistan, we try to engage children in fasting as well. When they're very small, we tell them, okay, you have to fast from Asr to Maghrib. At times, it is from Fajr to Zohar. That is okay. That is not a Sharia fast, but it is okay as a practice to make them habitual. Regarding namaz, it is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when your child turns 7 years, you should instruct him to offer namaz. And if he does not offer and he turns 9, then you should beat him and make him offer namaz. So just like namaz is compulsory, a farz, similarly roza is also compulsory. So ulama have said that roza, that fasting, should also be made a practice of a child before he becomes an adult, because this is difficult. If you wait for your child to become an adult when he is 13 or 14, and then you all of a sudden tell him or her to fast for 30 days continuously, that will be really difficult for him. And it is highly uh, like uh, with high chances probability, I can say that if someone has not fasted before, he cannot fast for 30 days straight. So a child, when he turns 7, you should make him a habit to fast for maybe a week in 30 days, maybe a few days in 30 days. And with time and gradually, you should instruct your child and make it a habit of him to fast for whole the 30 days. The second question that often people ask is that if we are in a state of the big impurity, that is we are in a state where the ghusl is compulsory on us, and we wake up when seher is about to end, and we do not have enough time that we can do ghusl, the ritual bath. So what can we will our fast be valid or not? So the fasting is not connected to your state of purity and impurity. Fasting is a separate ibadah. Purity, impurity is a separate ibadah. So namaz is a separate ibadah, your fasting is a separate ibadah. So the Sharia ruling is that, for example, if you wake up at the end of when the suhoor is about to end, and you do not have time to take your ritual bath, then at least what you should do is that you should clean your nose and you should gargle. These are the two obligations of the ghusl. So when you can do it then before seher, that is okay. You do your seher, you begin your fast, and then you can go on and take your ghusl. So that is perfectly all right. Being in a state of purity is not a necessary condition to start your fast. Okay. Moving on, we we come to the intention, niyat, regarding fasting. So some people asked that we were unable to do seher and we slept at 3 in night and we had already done niyat, so is it necessary to do seher? No, it is not necessary, although it is a sunnah, and it is preferred by by sharia that you wake up, that you are awake at the time of seher and you are eating within the last portion before the end of seher, but it is not compulsory. So if, for example, you can do that, you offer your isha and tarawih and you sleep at 11 and you make your niyat and then you directly wake up in fajr, that is perfectly acceptable, and that is okay with sharia. What is the timing of niyat? The timing of niyat is right from the time of maghrib. When your fast has ended, for the next fast you can make your niyat from maghrib to the other day in the morning till Dohwa Kubra. Dohwa Kubra is the midday when the sun is basically rising towards the center, and when it is rising to the point that it does not make its shadow. It is the time when the mamnu waqt for the namaz starts, just an half hour or 45 minutes before the time of Zohar, when it is not allowed to prostrate. So uh, so the timing of niyat is right from the maghrib to the other day. So for example, if you're not able to wake up in seher and you do not do niyat before that, it is okay. You wake up in the morning, given that you remember that you have to fast and you do not do anything contrary to the fast, you can always make your niyat before Dohwa Kubra. But before Dohwa Kubra, once the Dohwa Kubra has arrived, or after that, you cannot make your niyat. Nor you can assume that, okay, it is Ramzan, so my niyat would be automatically acceptable. The ruling is that you have to make separate niyat for each fast. So it couldn't be the case that when Ramzan starts and you say, okay, oh Allah, I make the intention to fast on every 30 days of Ramzan, and my niyat intention will be auto subscribed for each day. That is not possible. You have to make your intention every day. And and if you miss out during the night, the condition is that while remembering that you have to fast your day, you should not do anything contrary. But for example, take an example, you are not able to wake up at night and you directly wake up at the time of fajr, and now for some minutes you simply forgot that it is Ramzan. You stood up, you went to your fridge and drank water. Immediately after drinking water, you remembered, oh my god, this is Ramzan and I have to fast today. Now this is okay, because when you were doing something contrary to fasting, you did not remember that you have to fast. But once you have remembered, you should immediately stop, and now you can do your niyyah. So niyat can be done till Dohwa Kubra, but a separate niyat is required for each fast. Pronunciation is not necessary. So it is not that it is mustahab that you recite the dua of seher, but it is not necessary. So for example, if you have in your mind that you are doing your sehri and you have to fast, that's perfectly okay. Similarly, there is a confusion regarding when to stop eating. Some people are eating while the azan is while the azan is in progress, and they say, okay, when azan will be completed, we will stop eating. Some people get confused from one of the ahadith when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that continue whatever it is in your hand and finish it when azan starts. I do not have time to go into the detail of how those ahadiths reconcile, but and you may also see, if you go to Herman, there are people, even when the Fajr azan has started, they keep eating. I'm not sure why they do that, but the clear ruling is that in the earlier times, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there used to be two azan. The first azan was given by Maktoum, and that azan was basically given for two reasons. The first was for tahajjud, so that Muslims wake up and offer tahajjud. The other azan was for Muslims to wake up and do seher, to prepare for the fast. Then the second azan, the other reason was for that. This was the first azan given by Maktoum. The second azan, which was given by Hazrat Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, it was the azan which marked the beginning of the timing for Fajr. And given that this azan begins, you have to stop eating. You have to just even if you have something in your hand, you cannot complete it. You have to just keep it away. So this is why some people are confused that when to stop eating. You have to understand that azan is not an indication of your end of seher. Azan is an indication of the start of the time of Fajr. And azan is basically an indication to call people to prayer. This is the reason that besides Ramzan, the time for Zohar has started at 12:30, but azan is made at 1. The time for Fajr has started at 5, but azan is made at 6, just before 20 minutes before the Jamaat. So azan is made 15 to 20 minutes before the Jamaat of Namaz, except Maghrib, when Maghrib is immediately offered after azan. It is in Ramzan to facilitate people that the Fajr Azan is given right when the Seher has started. So, to cut it short, when the Azan begins, this means that the time of Seher has ended and now you cannot consume anything. If you ingest anything after that, your fast will be invalidated. Your fast will simply not begin. Okay, so moving on, what factors invalidate a fast? What are some of the things that will break your fast? So, what will break your fast? There are three ways in which you can apparently break your fast. The one is intentionally. The second is by mistake. Intentionally is called amadan. By mistake is called um, khata'an. And by simply forgetting that you are in a state of fast, it is sahwan. So if you have simply forgotten that you are in a state of fast, and for example you go and eat and drink, this is forgiven. Your fast won't break, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that if someone has forgotten that he's in a fast and he goes and eat and drink, then it is Allah who gives him food and gives him water. It is Allah who basically feeds him. That's okay. But for the other two, that is the amadan or khata'an, it is your fast will break, and the qaza will be compulsory. That is a fast after Ramzan has ended. A single fast is compulsory for both of this. In some of the cases, a kafara is also compulsory. A kafara is 60 fast continuously without any gap. But that is in some cases that we will discuss in the next slide. But in all cases, by in which you break your fast by mistake or intentionally, you have to make a qaza. Intentionally is something that when you know you are in a state of fasting, and intentionally, either irrespective of you if you have a valid reason to break your fast or not, but when you break yourself by knowing that you are breaking your fast, that is called intentionally. And at times you do remember that you are in a state of fast, but you do not intend to break fast. So for example, if you are doing wuzu in a wuzu khana in masjid, and for example someone unintentionally pushes you, and you are washing your mouth, and the water enters your throat, this is your fast will break. But that was not intentional, that was by mistake, but still your fast would break, and you will be keeping a qaza after Ramzan. Similarly, the muezzin of the masjid near you, his watch, he had a mistake. He saw some other timing of the day, and he made azan earlier for the iftar, and based on his azan you started eating, and then you got to know that, oh my god, you have broken your fast of 5 minutes before its time. That is also by mistake, khata'an, and you will be and it is compulsory on you to make a fast for after Ramzan. So, how do you break your fast? The first is that you ingest anything via your mouth, your nose, or your eye. So, the normal routes via which something enters the body is your mouth, is your nose, is your eye, because eye also has the path to the throat. So, if you ingest anything uh, with that, your fast will break. But things that you cannot simply ignore, like the pollution, the smoke, or you go to a place and there's a lot of perfumes, or you go to some place and there is a kitchen besides, and you get to smell the cooking. That is okay. This is something that that is ignored by Sharia. You are exempted. You won't be answerable for that. Similarly, the second thing is to make ghusl compulsory on oneself. So this includes any sexual intimacy or masturbation or any other activity via which the ghusl becomes compulsory on you. This will also break your fast. Similarly, the third is mouthful vomit. People think that, okay, I vomited and my fast is broken. No, that is not the case. There are three conditions in vomiting that will break your fast. First is that you get a mouthful vomit. If the vomit is so minor that, okay, which in Urdu we say कि एक उपका से आया, that is okay. But if, for example, the vomit was such that it is mouthful, that you were not able to control it, it would have been very difficult for you to control it, that is called a mouthful vomit. The other two conditions is that you remember that you are fasting, and you did something on your own. So for example, you were pressing your stomach forcefully, or you were pounding your chest forcefully, and that resulted in a vomit. these this only if these three conditions are there, only then a vomit will break your fast. Other than that, a vomit won't break your fast. So in normal conditions, if you haven't done anything, and even if you get a mouthful vomit, that won't break your fast. This is a clear misunderstanding among the masses, that if you have vomited, your fast is broken. That is not the case. So there are only three ways that will invalidate your fast. That is to ingest anything via mouth, nose, or eye, to make ghusl compulsory on oneself, and the third is mouthful vomit, given that you remember that you are fasting and you have done something yourself that resulted in a vomit. Now, what is Qaza and Kaffara? There is a lot of detail in this, but to cut it short, Qaza is, of course, when you break your fast either by mistake or intentionally, so you have to keep a Qaza. But given that you have broken this intentionally with some of these conditions, then along with the Qaza, you also have to make a Kaffara. A Kaffara is 60 fast continuously without a gap. And if someone is not healthy enough to make those fasting, then 60 sadqa fitr, that is to feed the poor for 60 days. So kafara is only applicable when the fast is of Ramzan. So if it is a nafli roza, kafara is not applicable. Secondly, it was intentionally without a valid reason. You were not really hungry, you were not in sickness, you were not in a state where you had to break a fast, and it was without any valid reason. It was intentional. The third was that your disobedience was complete. So you did not break your fast by ingesting some salt. You drank cold drink, you had some good food, so your disobedience was in its complete manner. It was not partial. And the fourth is niyat from the night, given that you have done your niyat right from the night before the seher. If these four conditions are there, then along with the qaza, you also have to make a kafara for the roza. Moving on, let's discuss some of the factors that exempt one from fasting. Okay, so the first one is a traveler, the Sharia traveler. According to Islam, you become a Sharia musafir when you intend to go out from your home place for at least 92 kilometers, and given that you have moved outside of your home place, that is the suburbs of your home place. So for example, given Karachi, the toll plaza is the ending boundary of the Karachi. So when you move out of the toll plaza, you are considered out of Karachi. And when you are out of Karachi, so if you are only going to Bahria town is only 35 to 40 kilometers away. But if you are going to Hyderabad is 150 kilometers away. So if you intend to go at some place farther than 92 kilometers, then you will be considered a traveler as per Sharia, and then you are allowed that you can miss your fast. This is a clear ruling given in Quran. We discussed it yesterday in our English Quran tafsir class, that Allah says that it is better for you to fast, but you do have that relaxation from the Sharia. You can miss out your fast and you can keep it after Ramzan. But the important thing to remember is that this relaxation is only applicable if you do your seher in a state of traveling. So, for example, your flight is at 8 a.m. and you're going to USA, and that is like 15, 20 hours flight, and your seher is at 5. So you are within these 2 hours at the time of seher, you are at your home place in Karachi. You're going from Karachi to New York. So when the seher comes, you are in Karachi, so you won't get that relaxation. If, for example, your flight was at 4 a.m. and you are already in air and out of the premises of Karachi when this time for seher had come, only then you will get that relaxation and you can leave out the fast. Then we have other reasons. These are similar. Pregnancy. There is pregnancy. Similarly, uh, feeding a newborn. So when a woman is pregnant, or she is feeding a newborn, or someone is ill, or someone is aged, these four factors allow someone to not fast in Ramzan and keep that fast later on when they are free after Ramzan. But there are three factors that rule this. Number one is that that, for example, in the case of illness, pregnancy, or feeding a newborn, they have some previous experience of theirs. So a woman who is pregnant right now, she was pregnant before, and she knows that I have a tendency for low blood pressure. I go, energy simply drains out. And in the last 2 years before, when I was pregnant, I tried to fast continuously for 7 days in Ramzan, and I simply fell on the floor. I was like, really got really ill. So based on that experience, this woman gets the relaxation that she can fast, that she can eat and drink, not fast, and keep that fast after Ramzan. So a previous experience counts. Similarly, the current condition. Okay, you do not have any previous experience. You are pregnant for the first time, but given your current condition, you can surely with 100% say that if you fast today, and also note that this is possible, that if you fast on a daily basis, that that becomes really difficult for you. But if you can make a gap, fast on alternate days, or maybe fast for 2 days then make a gap, fast for 2 days then make a gap, if that is the case, then it would be compulsory for you to do so. So for each and every fast, you have to assess your condition. So we talked about the first factor that gets you relaxation, that is your previous experience. The second factor is your current position and condition. So if you are in a state that you know for 100% sure that if I fast, I'll be like it can be it can damage, it can be wrong for my child, or it can really bring me in trouble. That is, or you are not also allowed to leave your fast. And similarly, the third reason, which is the most appropriate and practical reason, which is if a Muslim doctor who is pious, who understands the significance and importance of fasting, he suggests you that your condition is not appropriate and you should not be fasting, or maybe you should be fasting in alternate days, or maybe you should be fasting thrice a week. If such doctor has advised you, then that is also considered a valid Sharia reason and you can leave your fast. So all of these three factors, that is your current assessment of your position, your previous experience, and advice of a doctor, these all conditions are applicable for a pregnant woman, for a woman who just delivered a child and is feeding a newborn, for someone who is ill, or for someone who is aged. These three reasons are applicable to all of these four types of people, and they can assess themselves that if they are allowed by Sharia to leave their fast or not. Okay, the two conditions that are not basically optional. If a woman is in a state of Hez, menstruation, or if she is in a state of nifas, that is the postnatal natal bleeding, they are not allowed to keep fast, and they will be doing that after Ramzan. And similarly, if someone is in a state that if he thinks that I do not have enough food for seher, and if I fast without doing seher, I'll die. He'll die out of hunger. That is okay. He can leave fast. Similarly, if someone is in a place where fasting is not allowed, we got to know about some provinces in China where people were forcefully made to break their fast. Even in those cases, if they're forced not to fast, that is also a valid Sharia reason, and they can break your fast. And whenever they get time for that, whenever the circumstances are right, they can do it later on. So here we are done with all of the major masail, the fiqh of fasting. Now let's discuss. By the way, if you have any questions, you can always post on the live chat on YouTube, and I will try to answer them. If I do not find time here, I will answer on the group. Let's discuss some other things that are often asked. So, for example, let's discuss the saliva, ingestion of saliva. Some people ask that while in the state of fasting, we feel that the phalgum and the saliva, we develop that because our mouths get dry and we ingest it. So does it break your fast? No, it does not break your fast, because it is part of your body. It is something which is already considered to be inside your body. And if you ingest your saliva or your phalgam, that is not going to break your fast. Similarly, we have okay, the other question is that doing gargara, that is washing your mouth and throat, uh, is compulsory in ghusl. So if you are doing ghusl in the state of fasting, will you do gargara or not? No, you will not do gargara. You will only do uh, uh, gargle of your mouth. That is kulli. You will only do kulli. You will not do gargara, because when you do gargara, that is when you get water to your throat. That will definitely go inside, and that will definitely go inside and will break your fast. Similarly, people ask about the drips and injections in the state of fasting. This is a matter where there is a difference of opinion. Some scholars say that a fast will only break if something gets into the body through the normal routes. So the normal routes to get inside the body is mouth, nose, or eye. And if something out of besides that, just like if you, for example, you take a shower, and through the water that gets on your body also gets diffused inside your body. So they say that no, if anything besides these three normal routes go into your body, that won't break your fast. So according to those scholars, if you get an injection, it can be either muscular or inter vein, or if you get a drip, that won't break your fast. The other school of thought, that is the other opinion among scholars, is that the real factor in deciding if a fast will break is not how energy or food gets into your body. It is the energy that really matters. So if, for example, you're not eating anything, and you are getting a glucose drip, of course your mouth will be dry, but then you will have enough energy that you can be hungry for maybe another day. So they say that if by any means, not only through these normal routes, by any means, if something gets inside your body, you will be the fast will break. So, as a conclusion, ulama say that if you can manage that, you can have your injections, your insulin after the timings of fast, that is after iftar, before seher. If that is manageable, then it is compulsory for you to do so. But if that is not manageable, then the injections won't break your fast, but still it is mustahab, it is better that if possible you should make up your fast for the fast that in which you use these injections. But that is, I'm saying this mustahab for people who just get the need of having injections or drips once in a while. But for people who are permanently ill or sick, and they have no choice but to get an injection or a drip or insulin in the state of fasting, they can follow the opinion of the first class of scholars that I mentioned, and that is perfectly okay. That won't break their fast. Then we talk about, just give me a minute. Then let's talk about the eye drops. So can you get eye drops while you're in a state of fasting? This is also a contradictory topic within a scholar. Some scholars say that eye drops won't break, but this is not dependent on Sharia ruling. This is basically dependent on biology. So if, according to my knowledge and what I have read and what the scholars I read, there is a clear route from inside your eye to the throat. So if you try using your eye drops, you will feel that you get it in your throats. You will feel that the taste of those eye drops. So if you're using eye drops, that will break your fast, because that will be clearly ingesting something outside inside your body. But what about the ear drops? So according to the biology, the ear does not have a direct connection to the throat, so that is why ear drops won't break your fast. But for example, if someone's ear drum is broken, and now have that uh, route from the ear to the throat, then in for those people that would break. Similarly, what about inhaler, Vicks? These are some things that you intentionally inhale via your mouth and nose, that will also break your fast. What about donating blood to someone? That won't break your fast. Why? Because when you donate your blood to someone, you are not ingesting, you are not getting something into your body, you are basically moving it out. So donating blood won't break your fast. But donating blood as an optional activity, can be makruh, because doing any such activity in the state of fasting that will make you that will make it difficult for you to fast for the whole day will is makruh. So for example, often it is the case for normally for usually for people that when they donate blood, they try to get some juice, some glucose, because they get weak. So if that is the case and you will not be able to keep your fast till its timing, then that would be makruh for you to donate blood. But just donating blood does not break your fast. Similarly, just one last thing. What about the makeup? What about, so any type of makeup that you put over your face, which is external, does not break your fast. But if the surma is a sunnah of Rasulullah, and it is proven that he put sunnah uh, in a state of fasting, that is allowed. Ulama consider kajal to be similar to surma, so kajal is allowed. But any other thing, that is the eyeliners or any other cosmetics that you put inside your eye, so it is a chance that they may dissolve and get into your throat, so they are not allowed. But any type of makeup that is put externally, that is perfectly allowed. So here we can end our session for today. I think that we have covered all of the Masaile Rosa in quite detail, and I don't see anything that is left. Still, if there are any questions, you can always put them on uh, chat, or you can also message me privately, and I will answer them to you. So. So I hope that you learned today, and it was a useful session for you. I will upload its video on YouTube, and I will also give out these slides. So if you can share them with others too. And if there was any mistake, may Allah forgive me for that, and may Allah accept this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.